How do you do? The Box Office Pulp Board feels it would be a little unkind to present this podcast without just a word of friendly warning. We're about to unfold a cinematic commentary track, made by a group of men who sought to create a podcast after their own ravings, without reckoning upon God. It is one of the strangest tales ever told. It deals with three great mysteries of the internet: analysis, observation, and deconstruction. I think it will thrill you. It may shock you. It might even horrify you. So if any of you feel you'd not care to subject your nerves to such a strain, now's your chance to, well, we've warned you. Now, to pause and refresh. For your convenience, we have an attractive refreshment stand in the lobby, with buttered popcorn, golden good and hot from the popper, your favorite candies, wholesome and rich, plus delicious Dr. Pepper, so bright and bracing with a tang and tingle unmatched by any other beverage. Enjoy an ice-cold Dr. Pepper at our beverage stand right now, and then return to fully appreciate this bop and a movie commentary track. Enjoy.
We're gonna draw a little bit of everybody's blood. Because we're gonna find out who's the thing.
Did I ever tell you about the game I play called Death with my friends?
Don't say another word, Cody.
No, it's a fun game. What you do is you get. Normally we do shark movies because there's a ton of them. So you turn on like any terrible sci-fi channel shark movie. We started with Bait. This is the first one we ever did, and you play Death, which is short for determine every action that happens. So you all sit around and take bets on everything that'll happen in the movie. So you try and guess when the first death will happen, like time-wise. Closest without going over wins. You guess like the order of people's deaths. You actually like write them down ahead of time. How people will kill monsters. Since it's a shark, it's normally like, okay, I think one will die by electrocution, I think one's going to die by dynamite. You do this all before the movie starts, so you're just completely pulling these out of your ass, and you write all of your answers down. We do it as a drinking game, but you can probably do it for like money or something. And you just go through the movie.
Less than alcohol, like money.
Yeah, money, whatever. And you, just try and determine everything you think will happen in the movie. And then you can put bets on stuff that's happening during the film. Because, I mean, a lot of times they'll try and throw you curveballs and some things won't line up exactly as how you expected beforehand.
Samuel L. Jackson just gets eaten by a shark in the middle of the thing.
Yeah, you try and watch a movie no one's seen before or has any idea about, like they haven't even watched the trailer. Like, we did Two-Headed Shark Attack, Jersey Shore Shark Attack, Jurassic Shark. Netflix is just littered with really shitty shark movies, and it works great for this game.
I like this concept.
And then basically you can just kind of adjust the rules however you want or watch whatever you want. We did it with The Descent once.
You just picked darkness for every death.
Darkness, yeah.
Can we repurpose this for Box Office Pulp?
I mean, you could.
We do it for the thing.
Gee, how's everyone gonna die, guys?
I'm gonna guess the thing. Anyways, one idea I had, like for an actual intro to this episode. Let me know if you guys think this would just be the dumbest thing, because then we might have to do it.
I was thinking we'd record a 20-minute intro where we find a Blu-ray of The Thing in the snow. We decide to thaw it out and end up watching it.
So basically, I just watched the trailer for the original Thing, and I thought, what if we just reread the lines, but in really dumb, over-the-top trailer voices?
12
so one person
men have just discovered something. For 1,000 years it was buried in the snow and ice. Now it has found a place to hide. Inside.
That was amazingly spot on.
That really is.
Did you watch this trailer?
No, never. I just know 80s trailers.
That is scarily dead on.
That was perfect. That was exactly what it said.
So fucking weird.
Question, is someone just going to say action noises?
No, I was hoping when that happens, all four of us would just add action noises for a couple seconds, and then someone does the thing, like...
You have to do your...
Pee Wee Herman.
Man is the warmest place to hide.
Although one thing I was thinking, what if the man is the warmest place to hide, the tagline, you read that really fast? Like when they're doing the credits, like, also starring Tom Hanks, Neil Jordan.
John Carpenter's The Thing. Man is the warmest place to hide.
Yes.
Coming soon to
Yes.
a podcast near you.
Yes. That's exactly what I wanted. So you three would end up reading the lines. James, you do the voiceover part. Mike, you do Mikey. MB does MB, because I couldn't think of anything clever.
Wait, can I ask a question? Why am I Mikey and he's just MB?
Because I couldn't think of anything clever for MB.
Well, thanks.
You could even go with like a Dr. MB.
Well, he's not accredited.
Okay, MB is child's cook.
Why not Mbindos? like it's kind of Windows, but
Actually, Windows was going to be called Sanchez in the original draft.
yes, that's true. That is dead true. So it all lines up.
It does. It works.
I hate this fucking podcast.
Oh, that's fun. You learned something.
Can we not even do this and just do the discussion about doing it as the intro?
I mean, I'm recording, so I'm fine with that. We basically said all the lines.
This is going to be the Ire after credit scene. Us going, why don't we make MB Latino for this?
It's funny you should say that.
Because welcome to Box Office Pulp, everyone. Now I'm locking it in. We're actually just going to use this horribly long, weird discussion of us doing the opening for the opening.
So are we not even going to do the opening?
I wasted my
the gist.
voiceover for nothing.
I'll leave it up to you guys. If you want to record it, we can record it. Otherwise, I'm perfectly happy just having this stand in.
Why don't we do both?
I love this show so much.
Okay. Everyone ready?
Mhm.
Minute
me sing.
Bum bum. Bum bum.
12 men have just discovered something.
Bum bum.
For 1,000 years, it was buried
Bum bum.
in the snow and ice.
Bum bum.
Now it has found a place to hide.
Bum bum.
Inside.
Bum bum.
Where no one can see it,
Bum bum.
or hear it,
Bum bum.
or feel it.
Bum bum.
I know I'm human,
Bum bum.
and some of you are human.
Bum bum.
This thing doesn't want to show itself.
Bum bum.
It wants to hide inside an imitation.
Bum bum.
It'll fight if it has to.
Bum bum.
But it's vulnerable out in the open.
Bum bum.
It takes us over,
Bum
and it
bum.
has no more enemies. Nobody left to
Bum
kill.
bum.
Then it's won.
Bum
Are you
bum.
guys gonna listen to Mike? He could be one of those things.
Crash, bam,
Punch black dudes.
John Carpenter's The Thing, man is the warmest place to hide.
Anyways, welcome to Box Office Pulp. And that's the most organized
fucking podcast I have ever been personally a part of.
This is the most organized I've ever been. Everyone, yeah, good work.
Well, Cody
Good work.
actually wrote a little skit, and we did it. And
Everything.
Oh, us.
I made costumes.
Did you like that, Cody?
Yeah,
You
I
did
had
good?
fun. Yeah. Where's the gold star? Everyone gets a gold star. You get one,
Yay.
and you get one, and you get one, and I
I
get
don't want
one.
your gold star. Get the gold star away from me.
Oh, all right. Well, anyway.
I don't want to record with
I
Cody.
think you'd be alive.
I want to record with Cody.
So if you haven't
Imagine a
gathered,
version of that scene where McCready is just giving people gold stars to see if there's a thing.
if they don't
He puts it on the
appreciate
one
them, they're
dude.
the thing.
Oh!
His eyes start boiling. Anyways, if you haven't gathered by now, audience, we're doing a commentary today on John Carpenter's The Thing.
But wouldn't it
not
be
the new one.
awesome, though, if we did that skit, and then we're doing commentary for a different movie?
The Fog? I'd be down for that.
My Big Fat Greek Wedding.
Oh, they're doing a sequel to that.
They are. God knows why.
But we're not here to talk about Greek weddings. If you haven't listened to one of our commentaries before, the deal is we're all going to watch the movie, and we're going to lay down a commentary track over top of it. If you want, you can also watch the movie at the same time as us, enjoy the combination, or you can just listen to our voices and pretend you're watching the movie. You don't even have to do that. Just watch it. I don't care. I mean, we want clicks. We don't really care how you enjoy the material.
Remember to subscribe and rate us on iTunes.
Cross promotion. That's just self promotion.
Yeah, that's that's actual promotion. We've discussed this.
Yeah, you're right. I got excited.
Of course you're excited. We're doing John Carpenter's The Thing tonight here, Cody.
One of my absolute favorites. Anyways, folks.
Did we introduce ourselves?
No, we didn't.
I'm James.
I'm Mike.
I'm MB?
And I'm Cody.
Question mark?
He's the Thing! Get him!
Burn him! Burn him! Anyways, folks, we all have the movie queued up.
We are all lined up right before it fades in on a Universal picture in white text on a black background. So
correct.
If you're there, you should be good with us.
Are we good for the countdown?
Ride me, Childs.
Who wouldn't? Have you seen his stamina in the They Live fight?
Oof.
Yeah. Let's start.
Good idea. James, do you want the honor of counting down?
I do.
5 hours later.
Coming to a podcast near you. 1, 2, 3.
And here we go.
A Universal picture.
Bum, bum. Bum, bum.
It still blows my mind that Ennio Morricone's score for this just got fucking trashed. Like, he got nominated for a Razzie.
Really?
And I used to love just putting on the DVD of the movie because the menu music was just this really spooky, weird piece of music. And, I thought it was great. I would just play it in the background for, like, fun video game music. I can't understand why people would hate it.
Yeah, well, I never knew that.
Bum, bum.
I still...
To be fair, it is the Razzies. So.
That is true.
Yeah.
I'm still always just been impressed Morricone was able to do a dead-on John Carpenter theme.
I know.
Yeah, right?
For years, I just assumed this was a Carpenter theme.
Yeah, this is one of the few that he didn't actually do the music for. I'm trying to think of which other ones he didn't. Probably like The Ward. We don't talk about that.
Yeah, he barely directed The Ward, so...
Yeah. Oh, Stuart Cohen. He actually has a really great blog. If you guys want to check it out sometime, it's called The Original Fan. And he just kind of documented the process of making this movie. And it's really interesting to get a behind-the-scenes write-up of exactly what he thought going through it. And it goes through, like, the casting process, the effects work, the sound work, and the reception of the movie, and how it pretty much tanked and everyone hated it. And it's just great to hear that from the producer, like how he kind of had to shrug it off. Like, I knew I made a good movie, but everyone else didn't.
The actual model of this ship is pretty amazing, even outside the film.
It's insane. It has something like over 144 lights on it.
Yeah.
Which is weird, because you see it pretty much for this. It's done. That's the extent of the ship.
Then this, the recreation of the tiles from the original film. How they did this was pretty cool, where they put a film cell with the text on it behind a fish tank. A fish tank that was filled with smoke, and then they wrapped behind the film cell in a trash bag, and then they lit the trash bag on fire.
It's one of my favorite openings. Like, it has such a cool, unique look, and it's actually a pretty low-tech effect.
So very.
It's worth all the lung cancer they gave the film crew.
Yeah, and everyone died 2 weeks later.
Seeing his credit reminded me. I decided to look up the screenwriter Bill Lancaster before recording, because, I'm sure this guy did something else. I mean, he wrote The Thing. Bill Lancaster has 3 writing credits to his name. The Bad News Bears. The Bad News Bears Go to Japan. And John Carpenter's The Thing.
He was going to write Firestarter at one point until The Thing came out.
He was the original Josh Trank.
Oh. And now I'm sad for the rest of the show.
Hey, funny story. Jackie Earle Haley was this close to being cast as The Thing.
Going through some of the casting stuff online, apparently Jay Leno was up at one point for the role of Palmer. Like, he came in and read for it, and he didn't get it, but he was in the running.
Yeah, for a second there, I thought you were going to say he was in the running as Childs.
But no, apparently, for Hollywood, they just go to, different improv groups, especially, in the 80s. and they would just kind of scout for talent that way, and that was when Jay Leno was kind of up and coming, so they brought him in just because, he looks like he has potential.
It's weird. Jay Leno and Bill Maher were almost in everything in the 80s.
Probably for the same reason. They were just starting to hit the scene big. Fuck it, we can put them in anything. They'll be fine.
That's the reason Michael Keaton happened.
Yeah.
True, yeah. Michael Keaton happened.
We were all there.
It just erupted.
This have one of the most stark openings to a movie I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, that's what I loved about when I was a kid. Just boom, just what the hell is going on?
You get that text note like, hey, you're in Antarctica, it's 1982, and that's it. You don't even start off with a guy speaking English or anything. You just see a guy in a helicopter chasing a dog.
Such a great mystery aspect, investigation aspect of the beginning of this movie.
Well, also it just sets up the low-key nature of the entire movie itself, because really there are no like huge high stakes involved beyond dialogue about like the thing could eventually come out and, you know, spread to the entire populace and take over. It's such a, just as a story, as a location movie, as a bunch of different things, it's such a movie that just relies on so little.
And even though it's the end of the world, yeah, it feels very low-key. Also, I really love this, the chess scene in here, just because of the way it basically sets up the entire film's conflict.
Yeah.
You've got the humans kind of thinking they're on one end, they're against something else. They think they have an advantage. Maybe it's not playing by the rules they expect it to. And, of course, the parallels with the ending with him just dumping the whiskey on it and basically winning by trying to get through the rules. Depending on how you interpret the ending, of course.
Of course. Though there's some more obvious interpretations if you go by the script where it makes the chess thing really obvious.
Yeah. It's probably for the best they toned that down a little bit.
But we'll get there.
No, we're skipping to the ending right now. Everyone, take your remotes. You're going to hit the scene skip 20 times.
Also, this dog running is actually painted to look like the dog they use. Also, watch this dog freak the fuck out.
You can't buy that kind of acting.
God, this is a beautiful shot movie. Just, this is really where Carpenter perfected the Carpenter look.
Yes, maybe Carpenter's, like, I think next to Big Trouble in Little China might be his visually best movie.
Oh, yeah. But, I really love the map work here, too, because it's not really pronounced. I mean, they're on location for a lot of stuff. And the way they did the maps, apparently, was they would take a picture, you know, of the background, like British Columbia. They would then develop that negative and then blow it up by, like, 3 times so they could paint a mat that looked a lot like the actual environments there. And it all really blends in. You have a hard time picking the mats out in the movie. It all just really flows together. You get a great sense of depth and location. Even though they're filming a lot of this in, like, Los Angeles.
If you have a version that has the Terror Take Shape documentary, they have some great process shots of the actors, then just a photograph they took of the actual location, then the mat, and then it all kind of conked together. It's really interesting.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think that doc is only available on the DVD or YouTube.
Yeah.
For some reason, the Blu-ray does not have it. I don't understand why Universal doesn't bother porting its extras. They wouldn't even have to convert it. They could just put it on as, you know, standard def feature, but whatever.
Maybe Rob Bottin, like, had it taken down because he actually gives an interview in it.
He gets funny about that?
I don't know, I've always, like, understood or heard that he has, like, he's really private and stuff, but he's all over that thing, and he's just having a great time.
That's what it sounds like. Like, he's laughing about stuff and, you know, telling stories about John Carpenter calling him an idiot when he screws up and all that.
I've always loved this guy's goggles.
Right? He looks like the Mole Man.
He does.
Like his jaunt.
Oh, no!
I just want to say, we're going to talk about the Thing prequel as little as possible, but wouldn't it have been amazing if, for the ending of that movie, they just recreated this shot for shot, and this was the ending of a movie? And these were the main characters.
I mean, really, that would work out great for that movie.
That would have been awesome.
I mean, because everyone who saw it was pretty much already a fan of the original. So if you saw it connect that way, it'd be a great little bridge. And maybe, and if you hadn't, you would already understand what the thing was from watching the prequel movie, and then you would know these guys were all boned.
Yeah. It actually kind of have an interesting ending. Plus, the thing looks so good enough, you wouldn't be able to tell between a current film and a film shot in the early 80s.
That's the weird thing. I mean, this is filmed in the 80s, so it was before color correction on a lot of stuff. So it hasn't dated the same way as something from like the late 90s, early 2000s has. It's one of the things I'm really not looking forward to in rewatching a ton of movies 20 years down the line. They'll probably just look like, very period-appropriate movies and terrible elsewise.
Yeah. It's like watching, the early 60s James Bond movies on Blu-ray. They look like they were shot yesterday.
Yeah, it's always amazing whenever you find just one of those random movies from the 60s or 70s that just look modern in their aesthetic.
I'm still impressed, like, the Jaws Blu-ray looks amazing. That looks like something that could have been filmed yesterday.
Probably one of the best ever.
Yeah, I think we talked about that during the commentary, how that movie just looks like it was shot digitally.
Yeah. But,
I'm actually watching the Blu-ray, I should say, right now, and it honestly, like, looking at it, I've just been struck by how much it looks like this movie was made in the late 90s. Like, it's how recent the restoration actually seems.
And the details the Blu-ray brings out are just astounding. I'll talk a little bit more about during the kennel scene, but the things you can see actually watching on the Blu-ray it really blew my mind how much more detail was apparent. Because a lot of Botine's work is unfortunately hidden in shadows or covered in KY jelly, so it's very easy to lose track of it. But it's all very, very detailed stuff.
Something that's fascinated me about this movie for quite a while is the fact that it's the key component of 3 mutually exclusive Carpenter trilogies. I guess the first entry in his Apocalypse trilogy, which is this, Prince of Darkness and Mouth of Madness. It's part of the Kurt Russell trilogy, Escape from New York, Big Trouble in Little China, and The Thing. And
we're going to ignore Escape from L.A.
As you should.
And the Man trilogy of The Thing, Big Trouble in Little China, and They Live.
And also,
only did one more with Keith David.
It serves as one of the first Easter eggs in a Carpenter movie where you get the teaser of this movie's existence by John Carpenter having the original Thing playing on the TV in that scene in Halloween.
Yep.
It's weird.
It's the Carpenterverse.
He was talking about that in the documentary that Mike brought up earlier, and he kind of mentioned, like, he had to read the original story, Who Goes There, back in high school, and he obviously saw the movie too, around the same time, I think within a couple of years apart, and obviously he was struck by the movie, but I think he was more grabbed by the novel, which is actually a pretty different experience from the movie. The novella probably is closer to what John Carpenter made than the original The Thing from Another World. That one kind of borrows the location, but
that's about it.
It's more of the shape-shifting stuff that comes from the novella than anywhere else.
Yeah, The Thing from Another World is a decent movie made great by 2 moments. The scene of them finding the spaceship and the scene of the Thing bursting through the door, that one iconic shot everyone's seen. Mm-hmm. And basically what Carpenter did was take those 2 moments and use that feeling to make an entire film.
One thing I wanted to point out, we've already missed it, but a couple of seconds ago there's like a really kind of awkward fade dissolve. And that's always bothered me watching the movie. And I was doing some reading. It actually turns out for every one of the weird, awkward edits in the movie, or like part that feels kind of clunky, it's probably there because it made the next part better, and they just had to awkwardly edit around these changes. John Carpenter actually got really lucky when he made this film. There was a threat of a labor strike, so the production was kind of split up, and he had a couple weeks in between when he had some filming done and when he was getting like the bulk of his cast so he could finish filming. So during that time, he went through and he reviewed what he'd filmed and realized he didn't like it. So he made a ton of changes and refilmed a lot of key elements in the film. Like originally, MacReady was going to argue with everyone else and he didn't want to take the helicopter up. Because he was supposed to be just part of the ensemble and eventually emerge as the leader as the film goes on. And they decided it'd be more interesting if there was still an ensemble, but MacReady was going to kind of take charge early and prove himself to be the leader so we have someone to kind of focus on and root for. So they changed it and they edited stuff to make it look like he's the one suggesting they take the helicopter up. So that's why there's that awkward dissolve, because they kind of had to cut out a bunch of dialogue and them walking around and fighting so they could make it look like MacReady's the one who's pushing for this. Which is really, I think, a big change that helped the movie overall.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine a version of this where Kurt Russell fades into the background until the second act.
Yeah, or even later.
Can you fade with that hat, though?
I think they saw that and they're like, damn, now we have to.
There's no way no one's not going to be looking at that goddamn thing.
The hat and the beard combo? No way. This man's taking the lead.
Plus, he's beautiful.
But yeah, the changes they made during that, I think it was a 6-week gap, really saved the movie. There's so many little parts, like Benning's death was changed. That was pretty much all stuff they filmed last minute after they reviewed their original footage. A couple of deaths were changed around. Just all sorts of little scenes in the movie were adjusted so they would fit better into this final product, and it really changed the entire film's tone. Like it made it, a much harder film. It helped intersperse the action a little bit more, drive up the tension.
We have to stop for a second to talk about how amazing the acting of that goddamn dog is.
Right?
That's
That
terrifying.
dog deserves an Oscar.
That dog is so creepy. It's actually half dog, half wolf.
Yeah.
How do you make a dog act creepily?
That shot of it looking out the window, it jumped up on a table to look out the window. It's so fucking weird.
The first time I watched this movie, I almost thought there was a puppet the entire time because it just hits all the marks perfectly. It's too good for an animal.
Oh yeah, there is never a moment in time where you don't believe that thing.
He said it. End the show.
Credits. Hey now, you're a rock star. Get your game on. Get paid.
That plays on loop for the next hour and a half.
This is, of course, the American outpost just burned down from the end of the movie.
And that's how you save dollar bills.
No. It's actually the crew from the beginning of this movie, just from Earth 2.
That's how you save money. You go to parallel universes.
It's so much easier. So, how did you guys come across the thing? Like, for me, I was probably 16, I think, the first time I watched this movie. I just started, collecting films. I think I was at a shop going, it was on like a discount rack. I can't even think of like where I'd find the thing now sitting around at Walmart. It doesn't seem like a movie they'd have around. Picked it up kind of on a whim and just ended falling in love with it. But this was like really before I started looking on the internet for, film recommendations or other like-minded people that would push this out. Obviously, if you go around the internet now, you'll find a ton of people that say it's a cult smash. But if you're on your own looking for this stuff, like sometime in the 90s or 2000s, you maybe wouldn't have had that success.
God, I can't imagine just stumbling onto the thing and not knowing what it is.
It was a good experience. I'm like, oh, I like John Carpenter. Let's see what this is.
I'm kind of jealous of people who've never seen this movie before and get to watch it as adults. Could you imagine?
Actually, that was my experience.
Segway!
My first experience with the thing was actually 2 years ago. I'd always meant to watch this movie because I'd always heard, I was a huge fan of Halloween, and that was really my gateway into Carpenter, just in terms of filmmaking, because I haven't really seen many of his films. And the thing was always sort of my second one that I wanted to watch for a long time because it always intrigued me. Like I always saw snippets of it on TV and I wanted to see the full thing. So I had a Netflix account
Wait, they actually showed this on TV? Wouldn't they have to cut out, like, all of the effects?
It's 15 minutes long.
I'm not sure how it works on it.
They cut out a decent amount.
But Netflix had it on instant streaming, and I said to myself, okay, I'm going to watch this. And I remember putting it off for the longest time. Finally, I said to myself, okay, I really got to watch this because I really want to see the thing. It has this, legacy, this aura about it. People really consider it like this all-time classic. I should really sit down and watch it. Go to Netflix, it's gone. So I wait for about 6 to 8 months, and they re-add it. I jump on that thing. And honestly, within one watch, it became one of my favorite movies of all time. It was just such such a rich experience, such a unique experience, completely unlike what I expected going in, completely unlike what I expected of Carpenter. I mean, especially considering all I had seen of his was Halloween. This was just such a step up and a game changer for him that it was just kind of fascinating to watch that and just see the seeds of what would later come of movies like The Fog and stuff like that, or Escape from New York, like stuff that he would go on later on. I think did he do The Fog first?
I did The Fog in 81, I believe, so that was first. Yeah. He was actually kind of worried in this movie because he made The Fog so short. He had to keep editing down and he didn't have enough material. So that was one of his concerns making this one. He wanted to make sure it was long enough. And then he kind of overcorrected and maybe made it too long between set pieces or interesting bits. So he kind of had to find his confidence again and re-edit parts out. Also, I think Escape from New York was the year before this movie because he had previously worked with Kurt Russell.
So I was wrong on both accounts.
He actually directed The Computer Wore Tennis Shoes.
Let's just say this set the stage for Escape from L.A.
Hey,
look, guys, it's Arness's bed.
These shaking icicles always really bothered me for some reason.
Every movie there's icicles they shake at some point.
Yeah, it's like they just can't get those down. You said they... I'm going to do that every time someone...
Yeah, I know you are. We're just going to power through.
Yep. Good for you.
I know my first time watching this was in my late teens as well. Catching it on Stars at 11 o'clock at night. After having heard about it for years. Like Emmy said, as a cult classic. And I vividly remember just being glued to the screen for the entire movie. And the thing that captured my imagination so much was the fact that as timeless as the thing is, there's also something so aggressively 80s about the fact that it is a movie that is not afraid to be ungodly ugly from beginning to end. To be visually beautiful in the way it's shot, but to be just so dirty and gruff and sticky and disgusting, which is something that's very rare, especially in today's cinema. God, that is a creepy dog.
It is. And it's also
really weird stuff for a second there.
No, that's just the dog. But it's also really weird because this is one of... It might be the only movie I can think of that has an entirely male cast. The most we have of women is the voice of the computer, if you want to count that.
It's like Moby Dick in the Arctic.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Oh, no, actually, Moby Dick does have a scene where they're at a port. That has women folk.
Women folk.
Like you've read Moby Dick.
I'm talking the Patrick Stewart version.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Wow.
But I have read it as well.
So that was unnecessary.
It was. It really was.
I hate you so much.
I've also seen the Gregory Peck version. I mean, I'm familiar with my Moby Dicks. Another thing that's really great in this movie, if you pay attention, there's so many times where he's got it framed to show off every single member of this crew. Because it'd be so easy to make a movie with this large of a cast and just not focus on the people, not give them character, not make them interesting. Someone would just be fodder. But Carpenter doesn't take the easy route. He really, even if some people have shorter screen times, they still get an impact. They still have unique characteristics, and you can tell them apart. You can remember their names. You can remember who they are as people. They're not just generic white dude number 1 and 2. And a lot of that comes into play, just how he's got it all framed, so you can see their reactions, you can see how they relate with the other members of the crew, where they stand.
If this were made today, each of these actors would be played by Charlie Hunnam.
Jai Courtney, and you would only see them for about 3 seconds.
Yeah, Sam Worthington as Blair.
It's just amazing to me that Carpenter has such long shots that aren't trying to be like, one take. It's not like each scene is one take. He just has a long time between cuts, which is something you never see anymore in movies.
No.
The editing just wouldn't support it. I like it. I mean, it really gives me a lot of time to really sink my heels into a scene and feel like I'm comfortable.
This movie has such a creepily slow pace to it. There's from the opening scene onward, there's just this feeling of slow dread that just builds and builds and builds.
This movie is one long autopsy.
Yeah, it's weird to call it a slow burn, considering right now we're looking at a man pulling out organs from some sort of mutant monster twin, and we get things like the kennel scene, but it really does feel like it's building the entire movie. It's not just, like a roller coaster where you have a lot of build up and then that big jump down. It's hills and valleys, but it always feels like it's getting higher each valley.
Well, what I feel like it feels like is that it's happening in real time almost, even though there are cuts ahead. The slowness builds on the fact that this is just the situation. It feels naturalistic to the actual story as opposed to just kind of being a movie. It helps with the immersiveness because it feels like everything is happening in real time. And the threat is, you are just as aware of the threat as they are. You're just aware of how bad everything is, what the scales are, what the stakes are at the same time that they are. It's kind of a POV experience.
Yeah, and for a movie about building suspicion and dread and mistrust, you really can't take shortcuts and jump around. You gotta stick with these characters and see them going through this stuff and worrying about it to really have that come off and make an impact on you.
Yeah, it's, like I said, there's something just so ungodly, just uncomfortable and dirty about every scene in this movie. It's like everybody
There's
just
actually
looks like
people
they're
smoking on
sweating.
camera. And while in Antarctica.
It's like something that really bothers me, something that's always been in movies but seems more aggressive today, which is the urge for everything to be attractive.
Yeah.
Not just the cast, but just the look of a movie.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this movie is deliberately off-putting every step of the way.
And we haven't even really reached the monster yet. Once the monsters come out, those are over the top offensive. Like the kennel scene here with the dog's skull falling out before it turns into a weird monster that sprays a weird, mysterious white goo onto the other animals. It's not pretty. It's not slick.
Well done, James. Big dog.
Yeah.
Big dog.
With a bunch of puppeteers in the back to operate him. I'm going to point this out now in case it gets lost in the chatter from the scene, but once the dog jumps into the corner of this thing and becomes the flesh flower, you can just see that the tongue the flower petals are actually hundreds of dog tongues kind of sewn together with dog teeth all over them, and there's an eyeball on one of the flaps. And that's something I could never see before on DVD. It was really amazing the last watch.
God, those tendrils are some of the scariest shit ever put in a movie.
It's just like, what, hydraulic rubber tubes? Or like air being blown through tubes run in reverse footage or something?
Yeah, but God, it's just so visceral looking.
The
It's just
big,
so...
gooey crab legs, spider legs.
Because it just
And not
gets into
only-
that weird arachnophobia everybody has, like just things moving too fast. Hey, look,
and
clicky filling.
And the detail of the dog biting through the cage wires,
Yes.
that's something that always, it's like in a horror movie, in Land of the Dead, there's a scene of the zombies scraping their hands across a tank and their fingernails fall out. And that gets to me, those little extra details of showing the damage that something's going through in the situation. It's just a second unit kind of thing you could easily skip, but it works so well in selling it.
Can we talk just a minute about the design of the actual thing? Because those are some of the most unique movie monster visuals I've ever seen in my life.
Oh man, yeah, Botine was a genius. Well, I mean, he's not dead or anything, he still is.
He barely works, but no,
Yeah.
this actual creature is Winston.
Oh, that's right, yeah, he stepped in for a scene.
Yeah, because this is, I think, when Botine was in the hospital.
Yeah.
To step in. He's uncredited, though, but it's Winston and his team stepped into this one.
Yep, they stepped in for one scene, so they did the first dog thing.
What I've always appreciated so much about the monster designs of this movie is that despite the thing being very deliberately something that does not make sense, like it's almost the textbook definition of an abomination, it still seems like something you can kind of imagine existing somewhere.
Existing in nature, which is what's really disturbing, is that it feels like a phenomena that we haven't quite encountered yet, but it doesn't seem out of the realm of possibility.
That's something I always really appreciate in monster designs, because a lot of times the rule of thumb is to just make something as scary as possible without any real thought of how that thing would exist in nature. But like you see it in this movie, you see it a lot in Guillermo del Toro's movies. Just the idea that something has to look like it has a place somewhere, and that's what makes it terrifying.
Yeah, with Del Toro, too, he always talks about how important asymmetrical design is for his monsters. He wants them not to look like they're something perfectly made on a computer system. He wants them to kind of look like they've got imperfections like you'd see in reality, even if it's, a three-eyed tentacle monster like Samael in the Hellboy movies, which is a design point I really get behind. And this was the point where my girlfriend didn't want to watch the movie anymore.
Ex-girlfriend.
Ex-girlfriend. Qualifications.
Yeah, this is the Winston monster.
Yeah. And that's a shit ton of KY jelly.
So much KY jelly.
They had to go into Keith David's private stash.
And the stuff that holds Twinkies together.
Ugh. Okay, so this is what I was talking about. They're going to show it in just a second. The kind of bulb thing that opens up. You only see it for a split second before they hit with the flamethrower. But look at all the detail. There's the eye.
There's the other eye.
Yeah. It's so dark, it's hard to see a lot of this. You almost got to freeze frame it. And then this opens up, and if you look at the inside, it's all dog tongues and dog teeth.
The thing that... yes, Cody, I said that.
I wasn't going to stop. You stopped yourself. I'd stop doing that.
I fucking despise you. The whole Russian doll aspect of the creature they came up with, where it just keeps going and going and get weirder and weirder the deeper into you go. They really play up the fact that it's every piece of it is a whole, so everything about it is a completely different creature inside of another creature.
Well, it's almost like a plant that keeps growing, but on like a loop. It's like it's sped up footage almost.
So the thing that makes that so disturbing is that if you've ever seen like medical photos of like giant tumors that some very unfortunate people end up developing, sometimes they develop things like teeth and weird pockets of hair and just like weird things, stuff like that. So this does have like a small toe in a medical reality.
Rick Baker, I can't remember what movie he was talking about, but he was talking about that once. Like he was looking at medical books when he was designing some creature, and he was talking about how freaked out he was by looking at real anatomy books and weird cases like this where a person will like start growing teeth out of their back. Ugh. That idea has always really freaked me out, even more so than like most monsters. Just the idea that a human body in actual history has started growing weird aberrations that way. One thing that really kind of bothered me my initial watching of the movie was that the thing looks scary as hell, but actually doesn't do a whole lot against the people. You know, it doesn't like run forward and rip them apart or anything. And as I watched the movie more, I realized that was a dumb complaint, because that's exactly the point of the thing. This is a creature that's designed to look really fucking scary so you're intimidated by it, but it really just wants to hide because it's not so good at defending itself against groups.
Have you ever heard of the Peter Watts story, The Things?
No, I haven't.
It was nominated for a Hugo Award, and I think like a couple of years back. That's basically The Thing reimagined from the point of view of the alien. It's just about how sad and terrified it is because it secretly just wants to give everyone on Earth its gift to become other things, because that will lead to world peace.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I guess, and I mean, a big part of the movie is, obviously you could take the thing as being like, you know, some sort of stand-in for a disease or AIDS, but the other side of that coin is it's a movie about cooperation. We can only prevent these kind of huge calamities by working together and trusting each other, which is such a difficult thing to do. You know, trust in this movie immediately breaks down. You can see it in this scene right here where he starts asking him how long Clark was alone with the dogs. They don't waste time starting to get at each other. Of course, they do a brilliant thing, too, with Clark being the dog guy, so he automatically stands out as being separate from the rest. And, of course, they turn that on its head by making him a red herring who's human when he dies. Poor Clark.
He just wanted to be left alone with his dogs.
Didn't work. Well, they already killed all the dogs, so I guess he got to join them in dog heaven.
What's funny is that in Who Goes There, everybody loses their shit with paranoia, like, way quicker.
Oh, yeah. That one, they're probably not even a monster, and they're already like, I don't fucking trust that other dude.
They don't even know if it can imitate people, and they're like, I don't trust you, you're a monster.
Well, to be fair, Wilford Brimley kind of is a monster.
That's the most disturbing thing in this movie, seeing Wilford Brimley without his mustache.
I don't like it.
He's mutating.
I don't like it at all.
Wilford Brimley is trying to disguise himself as a human.
As it turns out, the thing is actually just diabetes.
Oh, God. It comes from space.
It comes
and sugar.
From space. Space sugar.
Bum, ba-dum, bum.
Space cocaine, the origin.
I love how many recreations of pieces of Think from Another World Carpenter's able to work in here. There's the ice bed, there's when the thing catches fire and runs out the door.
Mm-hmm.
So many great little homages.
This movie, I think the thing that actually, yes, I said the thing.
I haven't been doing it. That's on you guys.
I know. We're preemptive because we don't trust you.
We're becoming the Cody.
You're all my children now.
Burn us.
Sweet action, go.
Run, guys.
But the thing that always caught my attention about this movie is the fact that years before Brian Fuller would ever do it with Hannibal, this movie is kind of one of the first big culmination movies or culmination projects that's ever been made where you're taking something that pre-exists and pulling from all of these sources to make something completely different. It's one of the first adaptations that pulls from a lot of different sort of different things, but at the same time creates something of its own. Yeah. Sort of like Fuller did with Hannibal, sort of like you would see with comic book adaptations in later days.
Or like Cronenberg in The Fly.
Yeah. This is one of the first movies where it's like, okay, so everything, there's a little bit of everything in there, but at the same time, it is its own beast.
And right now, these guys are in LA, and it's about 110 degrees outside. They filmed this in the summer. They would apparently go to like restaurants wearing their coats because they didn't want to change out of their costumes. And they would just live with how damn hot it was.
Kurt Russell just showing up with those glasses and that hat. I need a beer.
I feel like Russell probably burned that fucking hat after they were done filming.
Oh man, I would love to have that hat in normal life.
You would wear that goddamn hat.
I would love to have that hat.
Hey everybody, I'm McCready.
We need to start a GoFundMe to get Cody that hat.
I would love that so much. Unrelated, but I just bought a poncho, a hooded poncho, and it is the shit. I am wearing that shit all the time. I bought it for a festival over the summer so I don't get sunburn on my arms, and I'm just gonna wear this everywhere now because I love it so much. Ponchos, man, let's bring them back.
It's the shit.
Ponchos, man, fucking rock, and that hat does too.
Oh, that's what we're taking away from this commentary. Ponchos are the shit.
Yeah, everyone should. I really wish more people had ponchos. I want to see variety out there for men.
I mean, I've worn a poncho before. We're fine.
Not just fine, man. They're great. You can throw it behind your shoulder. You feel like a badass, like you've got a cape.
Just wear a cape.
Mike doesn't like ponchos. He's the thing.
Also, I have, one time I was at a music festival and the container of beer I had broke apart, so I took my poncho off, threw all the beer in the poncho, and just carried it around like a sack. And it was awesome.
You made a hobo bindle of beer?
I did, and then I got to my tent, dropped the beer off, there was a bee flying around, so I threw the poncho over the bee, stepped on the poncho, killed the bee. It was awesome.
You're like a little hero.
Utility poncho saved the day several times.
Utility
poncho man.
I did go around calling it utility poncho all day long, but that's besides the point. We got a movie here.
Saving the day one poncho at a time.
Here we're finally getting some good child's action.
Never say that again. Out of context, it's really
You're
creepy.
right. I don't want to be arrested. I didn't mean that.
Voodoo bullshit.
Do you believe any of that voodoo bullshit? This is one of the best interactions in the movie. I love that Carpenter has a movie essentially about the end of the world and these horrible monsters that just rip people apart and transform into like exploding dogs. But he needs to make a couple of jokes in there. Like he wants it to be funny. And a lot of people maybe don't get that because the film is very foreboding.
Oh yeah. This is funnier than American Werewolf in London. That little part of like going through the metal and everything is like a lot of stories of of Roswell have the strange metal pieces on a table and being looked at by folks.
That metal with its glyphs.
Exactly. So a nice little takeaway from that. I love everyone looking to McCready and McCready just literally saying, I don't fucking know.
Right? Again, it's great. You can see the position of literally the entire crew looking to McCready.
Something very... Wow, that dramatic push-in on Wilford Brimley. It's something that Carpenter is very fond of, especially in his films with Russell, of just having the hero of the movie not really know what to do. Or maybe not be the person who should be in charge.
Well, again, it's the idea that this should be about teamwork. It shouldn't necessarily be about a leader taking care of everything. Because one guy can make bad choices. You got to have everyone working together. Also, this scene, while confusing, like the animation maybe kind of muddles the point of what the thing can do and how it works. Originally, it was just going to be Brimley looking at his computer for a couple of seconds, and they decided they needed a little bit more time to kind of explain how this thing worked to the audience. So this is one of the ideas Carpenter came up with during the filming hiatus. And even though it is kind of funky, it does go a long way in explaining the threat they're up against.
I thought Brimley was just playing asteroids.
This is one thing that's always bothered me. If you talk to the actors, they seem to think that the thing takes you over, but you don't realize you're a thing. Like you're still you until you decide to just morph. And I've never really interpreted it that way, but they would probably know better since they were in the movie.
That's apparently a discussion they would have. And what I like about that, though, is there's not really an answer, because even somebody who is the thing, if they didn't know, would they ever really know?
Yeah, it's not like they're going to tell anyone until it's time to expose themselves.
It's such a rabbit hole you can go down trying to figure it out.
Yeah. And I mean, the thing is all about kind of that working with the mystery and the unknown, so it's probably for the best it doesn't flat out tell you. Also, another idea I didn't really pick up on until very recently was that Blair was supposed to be pretty much transformed, like at that point, like after he does the computer analysis, and he fakes the freak out in his lab so he can be isolated, and they won't think about him anymore for the rest of the film until it's time to go down and pick him up and test him. So he's like one of the first infected. I never really picked up on that. I thought after they put him in the shack is when he was infected.
Yeah, I've always taken that as he gets infected in the shack. And that's when he gets infected even in the story.
Yeah. Well, was always my interpretation, but the producer, like I said on his blog, he had a section on there where he was confused that other people didn't see it as Blair being, taken over right away. So they tried to make it more obvious. Apparently that didn't quite work.
But it seems odd, because the Thing wouldn't want the radio destroyed when they're trying to get a rescue team out.
True. Well, it does kind of divert suspicion from it, though. Who's going to think the guy who broke the radios wanted the radios?
True,
Plus,
but...
The Thing, if it just goes in isolation, it can make that flying craft and get out of there, or it can just freeze after everyone else dies and then be fine.
Still seems like an odd choice.
Yeah.
Also, this blanket covered in blood skews me the fuck out every time. Ugh, I don't like those blankets, and them covered in goo, ugh.
This was such an effective scare when you see the blanket kind of move in the background, or in the foreground while the characters are futzing around in the back. For some reason, that really got me the first time I watched the movie. More than anything else, I don't know why.
Also, this scene actually kind of solves the mystery of where the fuck, whoever the Thing got the keys.
Yeah. Yeah, because they had that noise of them dropping.
Yeah.
This was another scene that was added during that hiatus. So, Benning's being taken over. They didn't have any money left over for effects, so they just sent up, some generic entrails, and just wrapped them in those and called it good. And some of the extra dialogue they thrown into the scene was thrown in to kind of clarify points.
It's always hilarious that they go all the way to the cat to talk. It just seems like such a bitch.
It does, but it really pushes the paranoia out there. They have to go to this secluded up spot just to talk.
I just want to see a scene of them walking to that, but it's like the Hateful Eight, so it's like there's a blizzard. They have to march 1 foot at a time for 10 minutes.
So, that was another reason I was really bummed out I didn't get to see the Hateful Eight. A lot of people have said it feels very much like, what if we remade The Thing as a Western?
Very much so.
And that sounds right up my alley. I'm so mad my theater only had it for a week.
I believe it's currently available to own on Vudu.
Yeah, I'll just wait for the Blu-ray to come out. It'll be a few more months.
But Cody, you could watch it now.
No, I'm watching The Thing now. Way to go, child. Your Windows are gonna fuck everything up.
Wow, you immediately blame the black man.
God, remember whenever being a black guy in a John Carpenter movie was like a subgenre of acting?
Oh, that looks creepy. Keys fall.
Fuck.
There, mystery solved.
Yeah, it always bothered me that Windows didn't point that out, oh, I remember I dropped those.
It's always weird that people don't notice that.
Well, it's rare in movies you hear plot-relevant Foley.
That is true.
Well, the thing with the keys is it doesn't come up as a plot point until later in the movie, a couple scenes down the line. So it's not like that information is brought up to you ahead of time that you need to know where the keys are. Which is kind of a clever way about it. When you rewatch the movie, you realize, oh, that's what happened to the keys. But on your first watch, you probably don't even pay attention to it.
Well, that's my thing. It's there's so many, long theories about the keys you can find online. It's you guys have analyzed this thing scene by scene. He just drops the keys.
Yeah, right. You can turn on the subtitles and hear keys falling.
Surprisingly, the Blu-ray does not have subtitles.
What?
That's so weird.
The Blu-ray, the only special feature.
Also, we're all going to surround Cody.
Oh, never mind.
Be like that.
I completely lied. The Blu-ray does have subtitles.
I was going to say, I've been watching it with subtitles this entire time.
I watched it with the commentary the other day, and I couldn't get them to turn on for some reason. Now they're on. Whatever.
The serene look on his face before he screams always scares the living hell out of me.
I know.
Because you just want to know what the fuck he's going to do. Is he going to speak?
My hands!
That was the other thing. The hands were a reuse effect from, I can't remember earlier or later in the movie, but they're part of the thing from later on.
Really?
And, well, yeah, because they redid this scene. They weren't happy with it the first time, so Carpenter rewrote it quick. They put on, like, these used alien effect hands and just did a quick, we're going to burn them outside scene. So basically all the bending stuff was rewritten on the fly because they didn't like what they had originally. And it damn well works. Like you guys said, that long howl as they light them on fire is just so weird.
It's one of the few movie aliens that truly feels like, an alien. Like, everything it does is wrong in some way.
Yeah.
Well, it also helps that I think it's one of the few aliens where, outside of maybe the Predator, there's no sense of like, oh, it came from outer space. It's like, it just shows up on Earth, and it's wrong. Like it's just this thing that just completely comes out of nowhere, out of nature, and there's really no reason to suspect that it comes from outer space whatsoever. But everything it does is just off.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's the title itself. They call it a thing. They never stop to say it's an alien, it's a monster. No, it's just a thing.
Yeah.
And it's so biology based. It's just everything about it is just biological with tendrils and hands and veins and blood and organs. It's just so incorrect.
Yeah, it always looks like it's just in pain and in the process of some kind of horrible birth. I made the tumor analogy earlier. It's like, that's what I've always thought of the thing as. It's just a gigantic tumor that's alive.
Stop, you're giving Stephen King more ideas right now.
My tumor talks.
God, there was actually a Clive Barker book that was kind of like that, but it was somehow involved with living cinema as well.
And a dick.
I believe in the end, the weird blobby thing is leaning over a girl and she crushes it with her thighs. It's.
Yup.
Yep.
Yup. Yup. I mean, I'm turned on,
Barker.
don't get me wrong.
It's a Clive Barker thing. It's weird.
Quick, James, do your Clive Barker impression.
Penis. I didn't remember I had a Clive Barker impression.
Oh, you do. You have a dead-on Clive Barker impression. Go listen to Tales from the Bop for Hellraiser Revelations.
Promotion!
Actual promotion. Also, I call bullshit. Wilford Brimley would not be able to run that goddamn fast.
Well, he's a thing now. See, adds credence to the idea he's one of the aliens.
God, could you imagine, like, a scene from this movie where Brimley's just, like, lifting heavy machinery over his head while whistling and nobody notices?
Thank God that flashlight was there. I did like how Carpenter used just random members of the crew to stand in for actors to add extra confusion.
Yeah.
Like, there's shadows of just people who aren't actually on the cast in the movie for some reason.
This movie probably invites rewatches more so than any other I can think of. Just, okay, when is this character turned? Who is that in that room? Who's that shadow supposed to be? It doesn't really look like anyone on the cast. You have to watch it so many times, and then you can get obsessed over details like the keys, even if it's really obvious.
The keys! And we mean literally keys from E.T.
Damn you, E.T.
2 weeks before this one.
And destroyed it.
Can you imagine? This came out, the same day as Blade Runner?
Oh, did it?
I believe it was the same day.
It was about, same time. But, they did the premiere for E.T., like, the same day they did the premiere for The Thing, like, in the same studio. So, yeah, everyone went to go see E.T., and they're really excited about that. And the people that came out of the Thing showing were basically very upset that they had seen The Thing. Like, some of the people complained that the movie was upsetting and offensive. One of the executives that went to the movie complained to a producer saying, like, my wife had to leave during the kennel scene and she didn't come back. The actors were all pissed because they had a lot of stuff on the cutting room floor with them interacting with each other. They made up like a lot of camaraderie kind of stuff and more tension, more arguing. And most of that had been jettisoned at some point to make a leaner, faster movie. And the actors all wanted that back, and they didn't get it in the final cut. I think over the years their opinions have changed quite a bit on the movie, but during the time they were upset about it.
At least it didn't have the happy ending they filmed.
Yeah, that would have been a load of bullshit. I just finished Dead Space 3, and it had a happy ending, sort of, and I was very pissed off. For a movie that's a video game that's kind of based on the thing in a way, it feels like it should also have a very dark ending. No survivors. I'm mad at you, EA, is what I'm trying to say. If anyone's listening from EA, I'm very upset.
I love how there's a fight scene in a movie with Wilford Brimley.
That's what I was about to say. There is a movie where Kurt Russell and Keith David battle Wilford Brimley.
And Brimley takes him on, man. He takes like 3 people.
Well, Brimley's like the fucking juggernaut.
He is.
He's the immovable object.
I'm not convinced that this wasn't just filmed behind the scenes. Like, the whole fight is just Brimley.
Diabetes!
Like, he's learned he's just been diagnosed. He comes to the set with an axe. I'll kill you.
You think it's just a problem with blood sugar? That's where it starts.
That line does always make me laugh. When you serious, I'll kill you. And then he literally tries to murder him. He's not holding back.
I'd say this is a really nice tool shed.
It is.
Oh, yeah.
What? Guys, why am I recording this? Why am I in the call?
I don't know, man.
I don't know who to trust.
We're gonna put him in the shed. He'll be fine. Let's actually remove the nooses before we put him in there.
Now, make sure we give him all the tools, though, when we put him in there.
Yeah, they maybe didn't think that one through completely.
Well, McCready did have that spaceship in the back that he's been working on for a couple of years.
McReed leaves him with a bottle of vodka. There we go. That's what you need, a whole bunch of tools and some vodka.
I love how that's something that comes up in the end of Who Goes There, which is, oh, we really shouldn't have left him in there with all that tools and supplies.
Well, that's another reason. Like they mentioned, hey, why don't we put him in McReady's shack, which probably has nothing useful in it. And he goes, I don't want him in there. I live there.
That's McCready's shack. That's where he got all his playboys.
My chest and my blow-up doll.
Even though he broke the chess machine, and I don't think he ever goes back to the shack except for that one scene where he notices the lights are on.
Yeah. I mean,
Like, it's not even like he's sleeping in the shack, because I don't know why he's mad that someone else would be put in his spot.
except to go fuck that blow-up doll.
Seriously, McCready has a blow-up doll that's canon.
And Palmer. Well, it's a good question.
He's right. Now I don't trust any of them.
I don't know why. His delivery of a blood serum test has always been stuck with me.
Yeah.
It's the way he says serum. Serum is just a great word to say.
It doesn't get used nearly enough. It gives you so much credit as a scientist.
It's such a sci-fi term. Serum. It's like, there has never been a serum made that was not intended to change the human condition.
It's like serum and the isotope.
If it's an isotope serum, you better watch the fuck out.
God, the only thing worse than that would be a solution.
Possibly a mixture?
A mixture of solution.
What?
Here comes another great line delivery. Somebody got to the blood!
Yeah. There's so many of those lines that just stick out, and they're not even special lines.
What I love about the paranoia in this movie is a lot of movies, especially today, like the blood mystery, would be solved at some point.
Yeah.
It's like the paranoia adds because you don't get answers for anything. This is just a thing that happened.
That's a great example because it allows someone to instantly go, where's Clark? Like, you get to it immediately. You get to see how characters react to one another and where their alliances are.
And
We don't need the mystery solved. You just need to see how it impacts the players.
Yeah, and the movie not going into in a bullshit movie kind of way keeps the audience on their toes for trying to figure it out as they're watching.
Okay, so we need to start drawing some diagrams to figure out what happened to the keys and who could have picked them up.
And the windows, once again, being the audience surrogate.
Get the fuck out of here. So what is with the nose ring? Has anyone ever thought about that?
All the time. I've always kind of liked how he just has a nose ring.
No one ever brings it up. It's just a character thing. Like, it's whatever. It's just part of him.
It's always nice character things, like Norris with his goddamn sweater. Fuchs just looking vaguely like Richard Dreyfuss. Windows being a hippie, essentially, but...
Those dark sunglasses he wears constantly. It makes sense outside because it's got to be blinding white out in Antarctica, but indoors, in the shadows, at night, I don't get it. Of course, he's not wearing them now, so I look dumb, but...
He has them on him, I bet.
I think they got knocked off during the Wilford Brimley fight, and he hasn't had time to put them back on.
The sunglasses are actually the thing.
Meanwhile, that's just Keith David playing himself.
He doesn't believe in any of this voodoo bullshit.
He didn't know they were actually filming a movie. He almost locked Kurt Russell out in the cold to die. Well, then we're wrong.
You gotta love in ensemble pieces. You can always pick like the one side character that really doesn't matter that much and just get overly attached. Like, oh, I'm gonna follow him throughout the whole movie and see what he does. For me, it's always been Windows. Like, I really enjoy watching what Windows is doing through the film.
Same.
Which I don't know why. It's not like Windows is like such a unique character that he stands out. He's not Han Solo.
He's so strangely enjoyable, though.
He is.
But
you can do that with any of the characters, though. They all have cool little fun trajectories you can follow.
Oh yeah, the closest to like expendable is Knowles, but the movie does an interesting thing where Knowles is one of the last characters alive, so he suddenly gets a big role in the final half of the movie.
I think the thing,
seeming like he's going to be the first to die.
I think the thing with Knowles is a lot of the times he's not in the ensemble shots like everyone else is. Or if he is, he's so far in the background you maybe don't notice him. Like he's kind of hidden by other actors. Whereas everyone else normally is on screen or gets more lines. He's just kind of a throwaway character as much as anyone is in this movie, I guess.
It was annoying me. Like, they don't have rubber gloves in this place?
We used them all when we were doing the first autopsy. We only had 3 pairs.
Listen, we needed something to jerk off into. We went through them in the first month.
I'm confused why they had to bother burning the blood.
I guess... I mean, wouldn't you be, like, really worried?
Probably, yeah. I guess I'd be worried.
I'd be burning all of them alive right now.
That would be the easiest test. Just spy check.
Those will slowly start infecting dogs with human DNA. I love his little head sock.
It's not as good as his hat, but it works. It's all those details. Like, there's so many movies set in winter where characters walk outside and they're wearing, like, a normal coat. It doesn't feel like it's cold out. And these guys are actually wearing these giant coats and different layers and huge hats. You know, stuff over their faces. They look like they should be cold. They make it seem like Antarctica is damn cold.
The original movie took place in the North Pole, didn't it?
I think so.
I believe. Which isn't possible. That's not possible.
No, it's true, Mike. There's a North and a South Pole.
There's no land mass.
Lives.
There's no land mass in the North Pole. God damn it, old-timey people. Get your shit together.
Oh god, maybe that's what the thing from another world is all about. The discovery of Santa Claus. Presents!
That's how he gets into every house on Christmas. In one night, he's just infecting everyone.
I love how much play that couch gets.
And those loving close-up of needles.
I always love the, like, official still that's released from this movie where they just Photoshop the head in the background behind McCready.
What?
You've ever seen that? It's like,
No.
It's always makes the rounds as like an actual still, but it's just, they took Norse's head and just Photoshopped it looking at McCready in the fucking doorway.
That's terrifying.
It is fucking scary, but it's so kind of ridiculous at the same time. Because it just makes it look like before it detaches, it occasionally detaches from Norris and then walks around.
Are you done in there?
Like it's a drone.
Another scene that was added just to kind of sell the idea that there was no trust among the men. So this was after the initial cut was kind of in place, and then they realized they could go back and add some new things.
I've recorded one of these during one of our really long podcasting sessions. Because let's face it, this entire movie, if we recorded like a 6-hour-long episode of Box Office Pulp, it would devolve into this. Like this, everybody's reaction is perfect for each of us.
We do this like during the intro to our shows.
Like this is all it is.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. There's something so apocalyptic about a character alone talking into a tape recorder.
Well, it's like the shortest horror story in the world or something. The last man on Earth is sitting in his room, suddenly a knock on the door.
Turns out it was a tree and it was windy out.
Oh, is it my face red? Time to go back to eating all the candy in the world.
That's the studio cut of that story.
There's enough time in the world to eat all the candy. Enough time. And his tongue falls out. It's not fair.
A nice little thing when McCready walks in and Fuchs grabs a vat of acid as a weapon.
So apparently we get the classic John Carpenter stinger in just a second here when a guy walks by. But Fuchs' death originally was going to be a classic John Carpenter Halloween era kill. You know, he's going to get impaled with that shovel. There's going to be a jump scare, and they decided they didn't like that. They wanted something different. Carpenter went to the producers and asked, like, what can I do? And they said, we don't care, but you have 3 hours to film it. So they came up with this, and they left his death very, very open. Which, I'm not sure how I feel about that. It's such an awkward note, just finding the skeleton and having no answers what really happened to him other than, maybe he burned himself.
Well, that's what I like. I like how the scene goes through every version of what could have happened. The characters literally discuss, maybe, why would the thing burn him? Maybe he tried to burn it. Maybe he burnt himself. Who the fuck knows? Something horrible happened.
And that's, you know, a nice little twist there, because Fuchs has shown more trust in McCready than anyone else in the film. You know, whenever he has an idea, he talks to him. So when he finds the ripped clothes, who knows, maybe he lost hope and he killed himself right there because he thought it was over. Or maybe that didn't actually impact anything and he fought a thing and burned himself in the mayhem. Or who knows what happened. Originally, I didn't like it because that sticks out, but it really does fit with the whole film, that mystery.
There's something so disturbing about when characters and stories just kind of walk off and disappear. It's like that moment in the Lord of the Flies, both the book and the movie, where that one kid just disappears and no one ever finds out what happens to him.
Or in Jeepers Creepers 2, where those 20 kids just run off the bus into the cornfield and out of the movie.
Yes, like Lord of the Flies and Jeepers Creepers 2.
I felt we had to have the line high and low class in that comparison.
Yeah, it's something I'm surprised more movies don't play with. Like, the audience have that expectation that things are going to have a beginning and middle and end with character arcs.
Yeah, it's a Chekhov's gun thing. Like, you assume if you see a setup like a guy wandering out into the wilderness, he's going to come back in the third act and you're going to understand the mystery.
Guys, I want to come back in the podcast now. I hear weird things on my end of the recording.
Put your faith in God. He'll be fine.
MB, if you come back, you can't say thing anymore. It's bothering Cody.
I don't like it.
Look, it's not Cody. Oh, look, I'm much better. I
want to come back inside.
All right,
you're on sudden death thing probation, okay?
And no more.
I see one tendril out of you. I am lighting the Skype call on fire.
Whole thing up in flames. And don't be pushing that diabetes stuff on us anymore. It's making us uncomfortable.
Yeah. There's something so disturbing about scream corpses. Oh!
Yep, there's glasses. It's Fuchs.
That's how you know. He's the only man in Antarctica allowed to have glasses, so it's got to be him.
I'd like them just having an audience discussion. I've always taken this as he just fucking kills himself.
I believe in an earlier draft that is what happened. Like, that's in the novelization.
Novelizations.
I would like to see I'd like to see the footage of, like, the original death scene, because there are stills out there of Fuchs, like, being impaled with a shovel against a door. But as far as I know, that's, like, never been made available to watch. It probably wouldn't add much, but it'd just be interesting to see. Universal, make a goddamn special edition of this movie.
I have always wanted to see the happy ending just to see what the hell it looks like.
It's on YouTube, I'm pretty sure.
I don't believe it's
it's never been released.
No, it's never been released.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I'm thinking of, like the TV version where it's just kind of the extra footage of the dog, I think.
It's just a really rushed voiceover, like, of Kurt Russell talking about how everything was better after he realized he was not the Thing. And then just a car from The Shining going over a grassy meadow.
It immediately goes into a playthrough of the Thing video game.
See, I'm alive.
Did you guys ever play that?
I played half of it.
Not that good?
Actually, I remember having a lot of fun with it. And had some cool things. I think it was just a little... I think if they kind of remade it with today's technology, it'd be a lot better. It was a bit ahead of its time in concept.
Yeah, because it feels like it'd make a fantastic game. I mean, something more along the lines of, like, Alien Isolation. Or even like a Dead Space thing where you just never know if someone's going to transform or pop out of a vent at you.
It's a perfect Telltales game.
Yeah, it had a perfect atmosphere to it.
Wasn't it that brilliant conceit where the Thing would be completely different people each playthrough?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Completely random, yeah.
Oh, that's cool. So I can't remember whose video series I was watching, but there was someone trying to explain the ending of The Thing, and they were very adamant that the film specifically focuses on coats to try and give away what the ending means.
Oh yeah, that was the, what's that guy's name?
Oyer?
Yeah, something like that. It's Collective Learning, or whatever the hell it's called. This is, YouTube page.
And I mean, it's actually fairly... It doesn't sound as crazy as I make it sound.
No, there's actually a lot of credence to it, because there is some visual language that Carpenter is giving you in regards to the coats.
Mm-hmm. Like, there's a couple of slow kind of zoom-ins on coats before you realize there's action happening in this scene. And it might just be because the coats happen to be at the end of a hallway, or maybe they actually did want you to look at the coats and get an appreciation for how this could have an impact later. I don't know.
I know. Well, there is one particular thing with dual shots of Childs. When he's there and when he's missing, there's one particular coat that is gone. We'll point it out when we get to it, but it is really interesting.
That's something that I think is part of the reason this movie has stood the test of time and became such a cult hit, is that it's such an enigma of a movie. It's one that you can watch 100 times and have a slightly different interpretation of each time, without ever feeling like it's some kind of pretentious, you make your own ending kind of movie.
I like your pretentious voice. It almost sounds like a more sophisticated Tommy Wiseau.
It does.
It is film.
That's the movie.
A high thing.
I'm pretty sure Tommy Wiseau is the Thing.
Like,
he made it back to land.
Made it back to land. He became a really pretentious director.
Doesn't that sound like the only credible explanation of Tommy Wiseau? He's just the Thing from another world trying to be human.
That solves a lot, actually.
Look, I make movie about human man. I had to express all of the betrayal I saw on that Arctic base.
Like, instead of the hands, his face is the thing that isn't quite made up yet.
I would explain his mysterious past.
That's why I like how eager they were all to kill Kurt Russell.
The big character that I think a lot of people wonder whether or not if the thing fully allows you to know that it's taking you over is with Norris here. And
Well, he does have, yeah, the actor was talking about it, and his interpretation was it gave him subtle hints that he shouldn't do certain things, but he still thought he was piloting himself. Like, when they ask if he wants to be in charge, and he says, "Oh, I don't think I'm up to it." His interpretation was that the thing was inside of him telling him, "No, I don't want to be in charge. I don't want that amount of dedication put on me for people to notice I'm doing weird stuff." But he still thought he was in control, thinking like, "Oh no, I'm just nervous." Again, I don't agree with that interpretation, but it's one way you could look at it.
That's interesting, because there's no real other explanation for any of this.
God, this scene is amazing. The special effects here are just so goddamn good.
Effects amazing. And this is the scene where they almost die in a giant fireball.
Yep. There are so many times in this movie where Rob Bottin would have a special effect that was made to be like done once, and they fucked it up on the first take. So it's like, okay, just take that thing you spent 2 months working on and redo it real fast. Can you have that ready in like 5 minutes?
Yeah. Now I know we just caught on fire, but this is amazing. This is a great little magic trick. That's a double amputee with just a cheap latex mask of the actor laying on his face. But because you're noticing the arms before you're noticing the face.
Yeah, that is one of the greatest jump scares in movie history.
And apparently the first time they filmed it, all the goo came out in one shot, so it looked like a fountain. So they had to reset the next day and do it again.
And it's that shot with the head stretching. It's because everything in the neck is just melted just all this flammable stuff.
Yeah, the goo.
And it filled the air, and they lit the fire pipe on. It just engulfed the room in fire.
The best part was the fire pipe was an afterthought. They didn't even think at first, "Oh, we should have fire." And Carpenter goes, "Well, the room's on fire. We should probably have some flames in the shot somewhere." Oh, yeah.
To this day, my brain cannot process that's not real.
Right? That is the greatest. This whole scene has some of the greatest special effects I've seen in any movie. Like, it's got to be a plastic model and like a remote-controlled car dressed up like a head.
And it's just
it doesn't play that way.
But every conceivable imperfection you could just chalk up to the fact that it's the thing.
Yeah, it's going to be wrong in some way. They get away with a lot more. Also, look at the stuff they were able to do in 1982.
Oh god, and those tentacles coming out of the head. Like, it's perfect.
Also coming up to the best goddamn line in the movie.
And just think, nowadays Universal will just say, we'll CGI over top of it. It'll give us more freedom. We can film from different angles and all this kind of shit.
Plus, the kids want CGI. They won't like seeing this practical bullshit. It's so creepy looking.
This is the only special effect that maybe doesn't look 100% because it just looks like it's kind of rolling around the skittering. But that's it. Yeah, everything else though is so when the head's popping out from under the desk.
I love how it spins. And just the fact they're actually just shooting a real fucking flamethrower into the set onto real things.
I bet the insurance companies love that one. You're doing what now?
It's like there's a great moment in the Escape from New York commentary where it's the scene where Snake is just running towards an actual helicopter that's lowering to the ground. And John Carpenter just says, "This was before Twilight Zone the movie."
Oh. I've always thought in Day of the Dead, in the movie Day of the Dead, there's one zombie that stands on a box and it has the top of its head cut off by a helicopter.
Oh, that's Dawn of the Dead. Yeah, that was...
Oh, you're right. And that was basically just a guy with a fake head built up on top of his that they just pulled off when he got close to the helicopter and went, "Yeah, this will probably be fine."
It amazes me just how recent in movie history you get stories of people just not giving a shit at all. I mean, the entire career of Werner Herzog.
He actually let that guy get eaten by a fucking bear. They're dead, Mac.
I like how McCready is just a wanton murderer.
And they even address that. Like, they don't let him off the hook. Childs brings it right up and throws it in his face. Like, you just killed a man.
Something that makes this movie so bleak and almost nihilistic is that there's really not anybody to root for. Like, Russell, the prototypical action guy, isn't really playing that likable of a character.
And he makes a lot of mistakes.
He's kind of a son of a bitch.
There's no hero, really.
He's just doing what he has to do. That's about it.
They're just people.
God damn, I love this scene. This is, for me, the biggest jump in the movie when the blood reacts finally. Like, the first time I watched this movie, I had no idea what to expect or when it was going to happen.
And the build up to it is so great.
Right.
Just the dialogue, just Russell's speech here.
And it undercuts it too, because it's kind of a long take, and then all of a sudden just hand pops out. It's just, what?
Well, the big thing is, like, because Carpenter establishes the fake hand early on.
Yeah.
Like, he establishes it so you don't notice it's fake anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a smart move. You don't see that. Usually it just cuts to an obvious thing, then the effect happens.
Right.
Like, he sets up the fake hand early.
That's kind of it. If you can do a shot, like a longer shot, or, kind of match a previous setup, it takes a lot more to hide it, but you kind of forget it's there. Whereas with quick editing, you can just throw in whatever you want, because it's over in 2 seconds. But this is more impressive because it lulls you a little bit. Plus, I like these long takes on the effects. Like, oh, we got someone bleeding? Let's hold on that for a second to make it seem like it's realistic, like we're not trying to hide anything.
Also, I like how this entire scene happens with 2 corpses in the background. Also, I'm sorry, that claymation video of this happening with the frozen cast is just stuck in my head.
It's ruined the scene for me.
Animated by the same guy who did the tech noir video for Gunship, so that guy just does Carpenter pastiches in claymation.
God, I love the acting in this scene. Whenever someone's being tested, they have this look on their face like they don't even know if they're going to come back clean or not. Or Windows there where he looks almost pissed off when he's being tested.
Or like when Gary gets tested and they all look really disappointed.
Yeah, it's
my favorite subtle things.
There's so many things going through all their faces, and they're not saying anything. It's just amazing facial acting.
I do wish they kept in like the triumphant old timey science-ness of the test from the story, or McCree's just giving this epic speech, yelling everything. Just so goddamn old timey.
It's always been my dream to say to somebody, now I'll show you what I already know.
And send a hot wire into your blood.
I probably should be talking, but I just really want to watch this scene.
It's so good. It's so goddamn enthralling.
It really, oh man.
I just love all the cuts to the corpses.
There's that fake hand. That's brilliant.
And then even writing the dialogue, just treating it like, oh, nothing's going to happen when I do this because it's Palmer and I'm talking to a more important character.
And that look on Palmer's face, in retrospect, you realize he just knows he's caught right there. But they give you a second to forget about it because then it goes to Gary in that argument. And he doesn't expect this to happen. That's the best part. There's no build-up for it, really. And the blood moving across the floor.
So cool.
No! Hurry, Windows!
What?
You get it right this time.
God, what movie was it? Oh, no, it was Total Recall, where Bottin got to redo the concept for Palmer's transformation and them exploding on Mars.
Yeah, this is one of the weaker effects. Okay, these are the hands that they use on Bennings.
Oh, yeah, I can see it now. I really noticed that.
And this is awesome because they just filmed it upside down. They just threw a guy onto a mattress with some plywood over top.
And this is just odd. Like, there's so much tongue action with the thing.
This scene, this one shot, for some reason, always has captivated me. When you just see Palmer Thing's feet kind of drifting across the ground as he's twirling this guy above his head. That weird weightlessness almost. I don't know why, but that shot has stuck with me more than anything else in this movie. I've always just loved it.
And it all looks vaguely stop motion for some reason. It has that jerky motion to it.
Yeah, it's not a great puppet or anything.
No, I mean, Windows is obviously just a mannequin.
Yeah. I don't know why that even makes it more disturbing. Also, this is the scene where it's just the thing from another world.
Yep, as it goes bustling through the wall, just like in the original.
Yeah. And it's such an amazing shot in the original, too. Like, it's so freaking cool and beautiful.
That guy's been on fire for so long. I think at the time they filmed this, it was actually a record.
I think so. And this is when Russell almost dies.
Oh, shit.
What I love is that explosion's so big, it looks like they cut frames and cut to something else, like there was a stop in filming.
Like the fire,
the explosion's so big.
The fire literally hits the wall next to him.
Oh, this always freaks me out. Windows just kind of transforming.
Yeah, and you can see his legs kicking when he's on fire. And it's such a simple effect. They had a guy in the wall behind them with two sticks controlling the legs. But it works so well. Oh my god, that just freaked me out as a kid.
So fucking creepy.
Kid, I guess, being a 16-year-old, but still, that freaked me out.
In comparison to you now, you're a kid.
Yeah, and the noises. Oh man, I love the noises they made up for the thing. That weird, echoey.
It sounds like a alien baby in pain or something.
It really doesn't sound like any other monster out there.
No, definitely.
And the complete 180 on Childs. Okay, I believe you. and the freak out after, now get me the fuck out of here.
You do see a lot of movies kind of reuse the Thing sound effect aesthetic.
Yeah. Well, certain things like the Jurassic Park noises now, like for raptors and the T-Rex, you kind of hear that in other stuff.
Yeah, it's kind of a shame. Meanwhile, like, the American Werewolf in London roar is essentially just an American Werewolf in London. It's kind of weird.
Well, are you also obsessed with the 5 seconds where MacReady and Knowles are a fucking dynamic duo?
Yes.
Well, Windows is dead. I have to find a new second. That might be the best line in the entire movie.
Yeah.
And the fact that Carpenter lets it breathe. Like, there's a couple seconds after him just winding down after shouting that and then the fade out.
Here's the first kind of shot that Carpenter's clearly doing on purpose for some reason.
Yeah, that slow pan in, like he wants you to notice, I'm assuming, the environment.
Particularly that coat that's, like, directly next to Child's.
That would be kind of a fun touch. Going back to the chess idea, you know, MacReady even says, well, if we have any surprises for each other, I don't think we're in much shape to do anything about it. And it turns out that they both have surprises for each other. Child's actually being a thing. MacReady actually planning on burning Childs the first chance he gets. I mean, it's not explicitly shown in the movie that any of that's correct, but it's a fun idea to think about that, you know, these guys both have deeper plans than what the movie is showing us.
There's definitely some implications. There's coming up something that I know James and I have discussed this at length. Our fascination with just Blair thing building an old-timey UFO just underneath the shack. Just building a UFO. Like, that's just, it's not fully addressed. Like, they don't really go into it that much, but he just builds a UFO.
Out of spare parts.
And it's not even that. I think that's what captures your imagination. It's the fact that it's Wilford Brimley just going back and forth, putting parts together, like, putting it in the shape of a flying saucer. Like, the visual of it is almost a mini movie you want to see by itself.
Well, as we've said for years, he's not even the Thing in this scene. Wilford Brimley was just building a spaceship to get the hell out of there.
For spare time. Just imagine,
bullshit.
while Wilford Brimley's down there working, Tom Waits' What's He Building Down There is playing the entire time. What's he building down there? What's he building down there? We need to go on YouTube and remake that clip now.
Yes, please do. Please somebody do that and send it to us. Facebook.com/Box Office Pulp.
Promotion!
Or Box Office Pulp, whatever. Just find us on.
We're around.
Confused promotion.
Here's the funny thing. In Who Goes There, the Blair thing is building an anti-gravity jetpack.
Yes. They figured this out very fast. Must be an anti-gravity backpack.
Oh, they just put it on like, it's an anti-gravity backpack, and they just float around the room.
God, could you imagine if that was in the movie? Just Wilford Brimley and his jetpack. I'm out of
once
here,
again-
bitches.
Okay, now there's the shot.
The coat shot.
Yeah, showing the hallways empty, showing the door, which is where Blair would be, and then showing the coats, and one coat is missing. So it's an interesting thing to think about, like just kind of showing things that have been going on inside without really getting into it.
Yeah, it doesn't explain it at all. It never really tells you the significance. You just have to put that together yourself. And there are certain parts in the movie where Carpenter had to go back in to add a couple of off-screen lines to help explain pieces. Like when they're going downstairs looking at the UFO, they actually dubbed in a couple of lines to help explain it. Like, what was Blair building down there? Just because people didn't get it at first. But I like that because it shows Carpenter has a lot of trust in his audience to just figure out what he's laying down.
Yeah.
There's a lot of trust in the audience here, which normally is a good sign of decent filmmaking. You don't have to mollycoddle us.
But he also knows where to add just a little bit more to make it clear.
Oh, yeah. Man, just think the stretch this guy had in the 80s. Like, he did The Fog, which I don't think he was a huge fan of, but I still love. Escape from New York, Big Trouble in Little China, The Thing. Like, all through the 80s, like, what an incredible stretch of movies.
Unstoppable.
Well, until the, 90s happened. But Unstoppable until that point.
In the Mouth of Madness is a good movie.
Oh, yeah, I agree. I love that one.
That's a classic. Yeah. What was his
Prince of Darkness is pretty good, too.
I like Prince of Darkness.
Village of the Damned?
Probably Village of the Damned, which apparently he took because they promised him he could direct a Creature from the Black Lagoon remake if he did that movie for them.
I believe so.
And then Universal backed out, which is such a shame, because just imagine if we'd gotten a John Carpenter Creature from the Black Lagoon.
That would have propelled his career further instead of just killing it dead.
Well, he kind of lost interest in a lot of the movies he was doing.
Ghost of Mars.
Oh, God.
And I think maybe if he'd stuck with movies that he was really interested in and the studio hadn't fought him so much on certain stuff, we could have gotten a lot more great production from him. But instead, the studio system coupled with a lack of interest in the projects offered to him just, killed a lot of potential.
And even Carpenter, I think, has admitted that his option on Universal made him really expensive.
Yeah.
And Universal just didn't want to pay his option.
That's the reason we didn't get a Thing sequel in the early 2000s, because Carpenter realized he was too expensive for Universal.
So he didn't pitch it. He had an idea for one like circa 2003.
Oh, damn, really?
Yeah. But he said he never pitched it.
Did he ever explain what his idea was, or did he just say he had an idea?
He explained some. I mean, I can't remember exactly what it was. He did talk about how he would explain the ages by giving Childs and McCready frostbite. Which I thought was at least clever. I mean,
yeah.
I'd at least appreciate that.
Yeah, it was going to be a direct follow-up, just following McCready and Childs immediately after they're rescued, because they were going to retcon that before the radio was destroyed, one of the characters, unbeknownst to anyone else, had sent out a distress beacon.
I think it was one of Windows's broadcasts did reach somebody.
Yeah, because he did say he'd been trying for days. I guess I could see that. It's a little bit of a stretch, but it would work good enough to set it up. I mean, I guess we don't have to worry about it happening now, but was that before he decided to do the video game? For a while, they were discussing the video game as being canon.
He currently considers the video game canon. I think he considered the comics in the early 90s canon for a little while, too.
It really surprised me that John Carpenter is a huge video game guy.
It's really weird. He does, monthly like yearly roundups of like his favorite games of the year.
Yeah,
Really
apparently
weird.
he's like big into basketball and video games, which is great. I mean, why not?
Motherfucker loves Destiny and shit. That's really bizarre.
Which is such a shame because I know he like produced Fear, but you think he'd get more into it. Like, why not fucking a Dead Space 4 with him as the creative usher behind it?
Oh, that'd be cool.
Carpenter's a strange figure because it seems that his passions have just moved on to things other than movies. Despite the fact that he does get out and direct something every now and then.
Mm-hmm.
It's like he's reached that old man point where he just wants to watch other people's movies and play games and read, and he'll occasionally go on a set just to like recharge his batteries.
He seemed to only be interested in making that Dark Child movie. Like recently that fell apart and he just was like, fuck it. I guess I'm done. That seemed to be it.
So, this is another kind of weird spot where we do get to see Gary's death, but Knowles' death, you know, they had a big thing in the script, and I'm not sure if that was cut out just because
was cut
of
out.
money.
It was filmed.
Right, that was the other, maybe the effect didn't work as good as they thought it should have.
Yeah, Carpenter didn't like the effect.
Which is such a shame, because I would love to see it. It's always been described as like a Jack-in-the-Box kind of thing, where the thing pops out of a crate and grabs him.
Yeah, something like that. I think there's you can see it in the storyboards.
Yeah.
There's a lot of storyboards for scenes that they couldn't afford. Like the one with the giant hand bursting through a wall, like grabbing and dragging somebody out.
So, I mean, it would have been nice to see that, but again, it's a really ballsy move to just have two characters basically vanish in the movie and not explain what happened to them. For all we know, Knowles is still alive.
He would be the hero of the thing, too.
I just like how quickly everything just goes to shit.
Right? Like, they seem like they're doing a pretty good job. They're blasting the whole place apart. They've made up their mind. Also, I forgot to mention one of my favorite lines in the movie. It's gone, McLeady.
Just the sincerity. It's gone.
Also, another really simple effect that's just amazing and terrifying.
And it just looks so fucking painful.
And Brimley just plays it dead inside, like no emotions at all. I love that.
And I love his little, performance. His eyes go wide for a second as he looks around to make sure no one's coming.
Mm-hmm.
It's that little self-awareness on the Thing's part that makes it so unique. And it always reminds me of Beetlejuice there. It always reminds me of Beetlejuice.
I'm going to be thinking of Krampus from now on.
Oh,
yeah. Yeah, where it's eating all the children. Those two will be connected in my head. That's not a bad thing.
Krampus connects to everything now.
Yeah.
Krampus is movies to us. That's going to be a commentary.
There's apparently an Art of Krampus book out there. I should pick that up.
I know we've said this a couple of times in this commentary, but I will never get over the fact that there is a movie where Wilford Brimley is the terrifying sci-fi villain of the third act. Final transformation Brimley at that.
I wish they'd shown the monster actually a little bit more, because from another angle you really see it's pretty much Wilford Brimley with a giant spiked fanged head coming out the back of his head.
Yeah, it's half of him's Brimley with his arm and everything.
Yeah, but you don't really see it. Like, they had a full Brimley sculpt on the other side of the model facing away from Russell.
Well, most of the Brimley, I would say, probably went into the stop motion portion that was removed. Like, that's where you really see the full model.
Was the stop motion for this partially done by Phil Tippett?
No, not Phil Tippett. It's, well, maybe. Who's the name of the guy who does the stop motion for this?
I'm drawing a blank.
I forget. I've seen his work on other things. I'm completely blanking on his name. But it's goddamn good stop motion. That's the only part of it that remains is the little tentacle.
Yeah, and even that looks pretty damn good. Also, I love the little display of intelligence there. It knows there's a blasting box, so it reaches around and destroys that first before it does anything else.
Special effects.
Diabetes.
Yeah, the return of the dog is fucking brilliant.
Oh yeah, part of the stop motion thing was the dog actually jumping out and landing in front of the creature.
To be honest, I was always slightly disappointed with this. Like, the monster pops out, and McCready just throws the dynamite, and that's essentially end movie. Like, I guess by today's standards, this be missing, like, a fist fight or something, but...
Could you imagine McCready fist fighting that fucking thing?
No, it reverts back to Brimley.
Of course, on the other end of this, it could end up like Resident Evil 4, and they just have like a really bad CGI extended fight. You can't kill me.
Of course, most of the interaction with the thing of the Blair monster was cut out because it was all the stop motion.
Right.
Which, if you've never seen, is fucking beautiful. Like, it's damn good. I can see why Carpenter cut it out, because...
It doesn't really match up, but
no,
it does look good.
Yeah. I mean, it's the scale that they're able to pull off in that stop motion is incredible. Like, it looks like it's in the room with McCready.
Yeah. Oh, the effect of the creature tunneling underground is still really cool.
It was done like Indiana Jones style. They just had a giant fucking ball.
So now, this is probably the spot where people will argue back and forth forever and never get a real answer as to what's happening. In some versions of the script, they make the chest comparison a little bit more clear, and they mention that McCready could have been hiding a flamethrower underneath his coat, or that he pulls out a torch at the end of the movie, which is left ambiguous too. Like, is the script referring to a flashlight, or a blowtorch, or a, flamethrower torch?
I believe Lancaster referred to all the flamethrowers as torches throughout the script.
Right.
And Russell mentioned, I think, in the commentary that they both had weapons, so I think the torch thing, the flamethrower thing, is still counted.
Yeah. So one interpretation here, apparently Childs is wearing a different coat, which is one of the reasons why we kept focusing on coats in the hallway. And he does disappear for a while, so there's a lot of suspicion on him. Plus, Kurt Russell hands over a bottle of whiskey. There's the Thing theme, like that boom boom, as Childs takes a drink, and he laughs a little bit.
Yeah, there's something knowing about him taking that drink.
So, I mean, some people could interpret that as McCready is a thing himself right now, and he's infecting Childs with the whiskey, or he's checking his loyalty. Other people see it as McCready is testing to see if he's willing to trust him, because he's already a thing, why not take a drink?
Yeah. And it goes back to that chessboard introduction where he uses the whiskey to win the game.
Exactly. He steps outside of the standard rules of chess by basically destroying the game, which I think is a clever connection between the beginning and end. He's, in the beginning of the game, screwed over by the cheating bitch, which in this case would be the alien who fights not using any conventional means of warfare that man is aware of. And man is kind of adapted, and he kind of cheats in the end by blowing the guy away. Obviously, that's all speculation because we never see McCready take any action.
Also, I kind of noticed when McCready was actually coming out of the wreckage and sitting down, he kind of... Russell's body language was almost reminiscent of, like... the fact that he was holding his hands forward as he kind of lurched down, it was almost like reminiscent of the Thing actually, when he was found out to be the first guy, with the half-deformed hands. It's like, I don't know, something about that just kind of struck me as kind of odd that I never noticed that before.
Yeah, it really.
By the way, I just want to point out a Wilford Brimley as Blair. One of the wild Brimleys roaming the countryside.
We got him. But it's such a brilliant ending because it just invites rewatches and discussion and analysis. Like, you have to look for clues to try and figure out how this works. Obviously, you don't even really need to because it's part of the whole movie. It's filled with ambiguity and, the idea of who do you trust and how can you trust someone. Plus, you get that really stark, beautiful image at the end where you almost expect something to follow it up, but you don't. You just get the burning camp credits. And, we're kind of trained to expect in a horror movie, in that last long shot, something to kind of come out and either say the monster's still around or, there's a hint. One of the things that I'm really thinking of is, did you guys ever see The Innkeepers?
Yes.
Yes.
At the end of that movie, there's that long shot of the door. It feels like it's 5 minutes long before the door finally kind of closes. And if you watch very closely, apparently you can see a ghost in that shot closing the door. But they made the effect so subtle you have to really be staring and looking for it. You'd almost expect something like this for this movie to give you a little bit of a hint that the thing is still there, or, MacReady does something. But no, you just get the burning fires and credits. And it feels so bleak, but it's a great match for the material.
And the perfect kind of ending for the story. Like, there's not really anything that would fit it as perfectly as that. It's just that pan up of the camp burning, them sitting there and the music hitting. Yeah, and the perfect score to complement that.
The best case scenario is both of these guys die and the thing never makes it out to the world. And the worst case scenario is everyone in the world dies. So there's not really any good scenario for this.
And we're just going to pretend this is still in the world of In the Mouth of Madness, so we're all fucked anyway.
That's true. There's no getting out of it. It's coming one direction or the other.
In the year 1999.
How mad do you think the thing would be if they finally, rescue it and it gets to the mainland, and it's too late because that movie's happened and the world's already screwed?
Oh, but here's the thing. Okay. Carpenter comes back. He does his final entry in his Apocalypse trilogy, where he takes that trilogy, The Thing versus King Satan versus Sutter Kane, and they all have to battle for control of the world.
My God. Sutter Kane just takes one look at the thing. Did I mention my favorite special effects are CGI? It becomes remake.
And Mary Elizabeth Winstead comes out and just stabs them all.
And then Ghost Pirates.
Ghost Pirates.
Always go. God, that would be an awesome callback to the end. Everything's okay. Ghost Pirate, stab.
Everything was okay. Ghost Pirates! That saying should come up more often.
Ghost Pirates.
Ghost! Rape. That's a callback. Anyways, after watching this a couple of times in the last few days, I am really tempted to go and watch the remake prequel, The Thing. And I wonder if it might be a slightly better movie than I've given it credit for. It's very easy to lash out at it because they took all of their special effects and painted over them with CGI, which, again, wasn't really the filmmaker's intent. He had that thrown on him by the studio. But I feel like there could be some potential there.
I remember this discussion a couple of nights ago, actually. The Thing remake / prequel is one of those sad pieces of movie history where it's like, pretty much everybody involved was trying to make a great movie and probably could have made a great movie, but nothing worked out.
It really does seem like it should be an entry on why did this get made.
Yeah. I mean, that's a movie where the creative side of it, right down to the producers, wanted to make this callback prequel that really added to the mythology. And the studio just wants a remake of The Thing. And trying to serve both of those concepts, the movie ends up serving no master at all. And I don't hate The Thing prequel. I don't even think necessarily it's a bad movie. It's at its worst, it's just completely forgettable. In trying to have to serve the remake structure, it does a lot of bad things. Their version of the test is just pretty stupid.
Yeah.
Doesn't work. And I don't even really blame the filmmakers for that. They needed to get a test in there because it's supposed to be a soft remake.
Mm-hmm.
I think even the fact they're able to get as far as making it a prequel still, the compromise probably was, well, Mary Elizabeth Winstead has to live at the end. So we can get a franchise.
At least could appear to, survive.
Yeah. And I think it's all these great ideas that are then completely muddled by other forces that are coming into the movie, because there's a lot of interesting stuff. And even when promoting the movie, one of the producers flat out said that if it was up to us, this entire movie would be subtitled Norwegian. We would
Which
not
was
have an
one-
American actor.
That made me so mad watching it. Like, there were 4 Norwegian guys or something, and then there was like a British guy and a couple of Americans and an Australian guy playing an American, and it's like, why? Why are you doing this? You have your own research station. It's like 10 miles that way. We saw it.
And just even then going behind the scenes footage of how kind of proud they are of really doing these old school practical effects and then have the studio paint over them. I feel really bad for all of that director who got this like job he was really into, and everybody involved were just so into making a true blue Thing prequel that I think would have been interesting. Like, I would like to see that if they could have made it like they wanted to, but
Yeah, some of their
practical-
ideas were really interesting.
yeah.
Yeah, there are pictures of all their practical effects, and they are actually really cool looking.
Oh yeah, they're beautiful. Like the split face one that was animatronic and it could actually, move across the floor and walk around.
Yeah, or even the tentacles they made up.
Oh yeah, and it's just so amazing, and just to see that completely thrown out for no reason other than studios just don't like practical effects.
The most fascinating thing about like their original like proposed idea was they wanted to end the movie with the characters actually going on to the spaceship, and then seeing that the plot of The Thing and the Thing prequel happened in space on that spaceship.
Yeah, that was it's on the DVD Blu-ray release for it. I actually much prefer that ending. I don't think it's completed on there, but I think the director said he cut it out just because they had to do kind of 2 different things at once. And they had to kind of streamline the ending because Elizabeth Winstead's character kind of ended up going off into a B plot for a little while exploring the ship. And once again, I think that probably comes from trying to serve what the hell the studio wants versus what the hell the filmmakers want.
Yeah.
I think that would have been such a fascinating thing to do, especially with it already being a prequel, to have it be this telescoping thing that, at that point you could have a third Thing movie that's just on the spaceship.
Yeah, because it's that kind of like a Gordian idea of like everything just went to hell. Like a Thing movie happened in space. They they crashed the spaceship to try to kill the Thing, but one of them got out. Then it ended up at the Norwegian camp and everything went to hell. And they tried to kill the Thing, but it got away. Then it got to the American camp. It's like then it turns the series into like this thing of inevitability of doom. That's really fascinating. And then never really happened, but it was an interesting idea.
I just feel bad for that director, because I don't think he's done anything since that movie. That destroyed him.
To the internet.
I checked. He's done nothing.
Oh.
That's such a shame, because, God, that is a good-looking movie, the Thing prequel. Like, he really was able to do Carpenter's style really well. I mean, the CGI is shit, but that's not really his fault at all, so.
Well, especially, like, when it got put over. Wow, I thought he did something before The Thing, but no.
I think he just did short films and stuff, or...
Yeah, there are 4 short films before that, and then he did The Thing. So he's only got 5 directing credits and, 4 producer credits, all shorts.
Yeah, it's like Fede Alvarez. This was going to be his big break.
And there's what the fuck is Fede doing now?
A lot of
Not
stuff
directing
developed.
Evil Dead 2.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Why not? That thing made money.
It really makes no sense. That is one of the most puzzling things in the last 10 years in cinema.
He directed one episode. He directed one episode of From Dusk Till Dawn, the series.
Yep.
I think he was in consideration for Doctor Strange at some point.
And he was directing the Dante's Inferno movie based on the game, but that looks like it probably fell apart.
Yeah. He's got one movie in post-production right now called A Man in the Dark. A group of teens break into a blind man's home thinking they'll get away with the perfect crime. They're wrong.
Daredevil, no.
Actually, I think I read a review for this saying it wasn't too bad.
It actually sounds kind of like an old school thriller.
If I remember right, the synopsis was the kids break into the guy's house. He's blind, but he's been really paranoid that something like this would happen, so he's got his house kind of rigged up to fight people off. So imagine like a really dark, gory adult Home Alone.
I like it.
So Daredevil.
Anyways, we're getting off topic from the end of the commentary, which really did end about 10 minutes ago.
Yeah, the movie ended a while ago. But
if you weren't watching.
We did a little mini bop on the Thing prequel there for a few minutes.
That's right, because we're probably never going to get around to doing a full episode or a commentary for that one.
I'm still putting my hat in for a full episode on the Thing from Another World. Or even a commentary, hell.
Yeah, that'd be fun. Anyways, do we have any closing thoughts on The Thing?
I don't know what the fuck you're looking at me for.
Frankly, I don't trust any of you.
Well, that was the case before the movie.
Bum bum.
I still don't want to go with Cody.
My distrust has increased as the movie has gone on. Frankly, I'm gonna have to burn you all.
Bum bum.
Here's my thing. What if, in reality, we were at war with the Norwegians?
Bum bum.
Donald Trump was right. We need to build walls.
Bum
Mike's
bum.
trying to incite war with the Norwegians. He's the Thing. Get him.
Bum bum.
Goddamn Swedes.
Bum bum.
Anyways, I
Bum,
think
bum.
it's safe to say that's a wrap. Thank you, everybody. You can find more of us at our blog spot, or we're on Facebook as well. Check us out, boxofficepulp.whatever. I don't remember the information. We also have several other shows. I was going to say their names, but now I'm laughing, so you can just figure it out your own.
Pulppodcastnetwork.wordpress.com. They're all there.
Bum bum.
Cross promotion.
Bum bum.
Now, if you'll excuse us,
Bum bum.
we're all just gonna sit here for a while,
Bum bum.
see what happens.
Bum bum. Bum bum. Bum bum. Bum bum. Bum bum. Bum bum.
You get more out of life when you go out to a movie. Please remember to replace the speaker on the post when you leave the theater.
6 times. 6 times.
Apparently Donald Pleasance was actually one of the characters they were thinking about at one point, or actors they were thinking about at one point for the movie.
Hopefully he was going to be Wilford Brimley.
I think, yeah, they were looking for, like, Blair. Or a copper, I can't remember.
Could you imagine if he was McCready, though?
Stand back, I've got TNT.
You have no idea how badly I want to see Donald Pleasance just attacking a radio console with an axe that wants to be us. God damn it!
I'll kill you.
Do you think it wanted to be a dog?
I blew him up 6 times.
Now, McCready, come on now. I feel all right. Let me out. I'm just eating flesh the entire time. Bum bum.
This is Box Office Pulp Guy, and this has been a Pulp Podcast production. Now please, 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 put a gun in my mouth and pull the trigger and say goodnight.
And now, on with the show.
There are a lot of issues that plague the comic book community at large that are really never kind of addressed. I think what the three of us really wanted to do was do a show where we explore all of that.
And by the very hand of Odin himself, we now have the seed of this podcast.
Marvel's Odin.
Does DC have an Odin? They must.
I don't think so. Let's go with, like, Image Odin.
Look, DC has Hercules, so he has to have something.
Who doesn't have Hercules? Spawn?
He has Angela, who's like Lady Hercules.
Yeah, she is kind of Hercules-like. Can we still legally say Spawn has Angela? Have I just gotten us in trouble?
Well, now that she's Asgardian, I think it's fair play, so...
Hey, she's not technically Asgardian.
Yeah, but she's Asgard's assassin.
And she has, like, a weird new haircut. Have you seen Angela's new redesign?
Look, we can get all into the pathos of Angela on another episode.
That was just a little taste of graphic novelism.